I'm going to continue with my topics of toxic relationships and addiction. I never fear like having enough information to talk through on my videos because there is just so much information that I've learned here and there and every day. Um, but when you're a kid, when your kid is going through drugs, um, maybe you yourself have been through drugs. Maybe your parents before you were alcoholics. And all these feelings are just like twisted up inside of you. Um, I think number one, that I've been talking about lately is the recovery stage where you start leaving when you start leaving the drugs or behind or the toxic people behind, when you start learning about them and how it affects you and when you do start doing wanting and desiring those changes to be made, and when it starts really manifesting for you. And then my last video I talked about how people start falling out of your life. Maybe that narcissistic partner, or that narcissistic mother that you had, when you start standing up for yourself and you no longer want to take it, um, and you're still like hanging around these people or living with these individuals, there will be a fight. I mean, because when you start creating boundaries, you will lose 75 to 85% of people in your life, sometimes the ones closest to us. When we start leaving the first stage of denial, can open up, I think, so much pain because we start seeing these people and the little tricks they're using when they're talking to us and in our lives and just actions. And unfortunately, often I talk about my narcissistic parents, how in older age they can just get worse. Um, I've lost a home once because of my narcissistic father. Um, in many cases where the mother or father is a drug addict, the grandparents can come in and they can kind of take over and call CPS, and whether or not we're ready to or want to, we are faced with the challenge of cleaning up our acts and maybe realizing that we do have a problem for the first time. Or maybe we are still in states of denial where we think that things are not fair and we're just angrier than shit about it. Um, Whether you are at work and people in your life are provoking you to the point of making you mad, and then they're saying that it's your fault, and they triangulate you and say, look at her or him. He's in a rage and he could get violent, or whatever the case may be. They can blow things way out of proportion and just do a lot of um, manipulation tactics. I do believe that it's easier to actually see what they're doing, and the pain isn't so intense when you're not in such states of confusion and you can understand what they're doing. Um, I have been sober of methamphetamine for going on 6 or 7 years now already. Still I'm in the process of getting my dentures and my teeth out over the past 5 years. And it's taken a long time. And also to stop being ashamed and to stop feeling like the victim, like I did it all, and the guilt and the overwhelm, and how my family put it all on me, and it was all my fault. And when basically the world can put it on you, like, you should be ashamed of yourself for using, that's evil or whatever, and you're going to rot in hell. Number one, we've already been through hell. Sometimes we're in a state of hell when we're in the pits of relapse or lapsing. Whether it be maybe we run back to our ex toxic partner, because they easily sway us, and it sounds so good to be love bombed for a while until they change back into their um what do you call that, the degrading cycle where they downgrade you in every possible way and gaslight you and make you feel like a just an annoying person that is there, or all of a sudden, maybe you pulled away for a while and you started finding yourself again, maybe for the first time in your life. Or, you're finding yourself and you found like um, other people to talk to, maybe in that support group, or maybe you've made some new friends at your new job, or, maybe a new clique or something where you're at, a new group of people. Maybe the other clique like spat you out, or whatever it was, and then you decided that you did not deserve that anymore, and maybe you're just going and sitting by yourself now and finding yourself again. um, it can be a really tough time, a really painful time, because as we are codependents, we can have some pathological loneliness where we don't like to be alone, and we've always clung to maybe other people and depended on other people for their love and support and guidance and things, where um, and then we are magnetized into these toxic relationships, because as a narcissistic and codependent come together, where our shame levels are so like equal, that that's actually one thing that we feel like drawn to this person for, and we think it's magical at first, and it just feels so comfortable, and it's a great match, until they start to condition us with not only positive love bombing at first, and then later conditioning us to not talk, to not speak, to not take action, especially against them, or go along with what we think or feel. Um, when they start really eating away at our spirit, um, I know one man had a good way of saying it, that that's when we usually can fly the coop, when they start eating our spirit. Uh, Otherwise we just become dead, and without spirit there is nothing. That's our wheel. That's like part of the four wheels I talk about when you have your steering wheel. That is the spirit that drives us in the direction we want to go. So, like, hey, do we want to drive over that cliff? We're going to have to come out of that addictive mind, come away from maybe all the sabotage and destruction that these people are using against us. maybe because they don't want us to leave or they're violating all of our boundaries. And, or we are going to, you know, do no contact with these people or do, like, no using for that 90 days where, inside of our minds, we can come back into, um, our logical state of minds where our addictive minds haven't completely taken over, and because we have become and have been maybe all our lives so addicted to these people or to you know the social life where we only go to the parties on the weekends, or we buy that bottle of wine every night, or chronic pot smoke like all day long, until your money runs out, and you kick yourself, like, why did I go back to this person because he's not letting me work, or she's not letting me go out anymore with my buddies for a league of bowling or whatever, because she's really controlling and possessive. When it starts eating at your spirit, I mean, what point does it have to come before we start desiring that change to be made? What is your pain level that you have to come to before you start saying enough is enough? How much do you have to lose? Were you kicked out of your family? Were you kicked out of your home for using? Were you kicked out of a family for having boundaries? Um, are you standing all alone and you don't know what to do and you need help? Are you going to reach for that help today? Are you going to keep putting it off? I say, a great thing I've learned in meditation or deep breathing or mindfulness activities is that we can come back to ourselves and realign ourselves, maybe in the morning before we get started with our day, to be in more of an alpha-centered self, where we can create space and distance between that person, and we can finally make the stop principle with them, and finally within yourself, where you can quit sabotaging even when you're all by yourself and you feel like you can't trust yourself. Maybe you're physically overworking and you're hurting yourself into just draining yourself of energy and life. To where we can come to the stop principle of taking a deep breath in and out, where we can begin to trust what choices are good and what choices are bad, and kind of experiment with them and see what works for us on individual levels. When we can actually start trusting ourselves and stop being so scared, that we're gonna reach for maybe that script of Adderall again when maybe we don't need it. Or, just basically, um, ODing on too many pain pills or whatever it is, um, where you feel stuck and, you're just no longer, things aren't working in your life anymore, and it just feels like you feel more like a slave in the job that you're in, or the everydays is exactly the same, like Trent Reznor sang about in Nine Inch Nails. You know, it's not easy, and there's work involved, And sometimes we can be so tired and so drained from dealing with this person, or going back to that group and having a really bad hangover more often than not. Losing focus of what's real and not real, and going back into mindfulness where we can take the approach of logic versus reason. And is that really good for me to do that one more time? Maybe we can list a pros and cons of before making a choice, hurry up and making a choice, or hurrying up and saying yes or no to someone or yourself. Um, there can be a real battle for a while when you start wanting to be clean, and your friends and people can really, especially your close loved ones, I think, can really throw you for a loop. Um, they can, like maybe your old using friends will borrow your laptop and then on a drug binge one night just tear the whole laptop up into little small pieces. And, even though they apologize, or they lose your car and they don't bring it home for days, um, or at the allotted time that you wanted and you left you stranded somewhere. I mean, they can, sometimes you can be left in these dire situations where you have people trying to sabotage you for leaving them, you know, um, or for leaving a certain lifestyle. Because with all their control and manipulation, they had you like this, doing whatever they wanted. Um, us addicts can act a lot like an aggravated narcissist, where they're punishing you and doing things to you when you might be trying to go to school online, or you're trying to keep that new job or position. Um, it can be an extreme struggle for many wives, especially, and even in family situations, where you might not be all of a sudden like somebody gave you the COVID and knocks you out of work, and maybe you're not allowed to make that money you wanted to or have that vehicle to get there. You need all these things. These are essential needs. Safe housing, safe people, groups, and safe therapists, safe doctors. Um, in your journey, I know that, like mine, it will not be an easy one, or it is already not an easy one. But to keep going and not fall into their argumentative styles. Maybe they've been ignoring you because you decided not to join their little party or soiree. Maybe your opinion has changed about this or that, and these are very big and powerful. Um, you know, Changes that we are making, and they just maybe don't quite understand, and it can get really nuts. They can really come in and attack, kind of like through this crisis with the presidents, and voting and things with all these riots. I see the same thing kind of happening around the world right now, and especially in America. That as our younger generation is kind of becoming more peaceful, although some people say it's getting more narcissistic. I do see us standing up and striking with posters and stuff where we want peace instead. Um, and I think that's the big war that we've kind of been having. My own personal opinion is where women are standing up, African American people are standing up, and animal rights movements and just all kinds of things are standing up and maybe placing bigger boundaries against these, which forms the riots. Um, but I think as we keep a peaceful stance and we learn not to join the arguments and observe and don't absorb, because we don't want to roll in the mud with these people, we are wanting to create more distance and boundaries so we don't get locked into being stuck and miserable every day, where we can begin to take our power back and start realizing what is real power and what is not real power. So, thanks for listening. My 20 minutes is up, and I hope you all have a peaceful, wonderful day. Bye now.